Hi guys, this is Ashley back with Lumefinity, and I'm here to show you today how to make Danger Mouse. And in order to create him, you'll need about 200 white bands, 6 black bands, 6 red bands, and 2 of the yellow bands. I'm also using 1 yellow pony bead for his single eye because he does have an eye patch on the other eye. So if you want to grab your supplies, we can go ahead and get started. The first thing that I'm going to show you how to create today is the foot, and I have created one already, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make one and then just pause the video to make the second one. So you're going to be using white bands for this, and we are going to start on the top right of the loom with 2 white bands, and you're going to come down once. Taking 2 more bands, you're going from the second peg at a long diagonal to the 4th center peg. And I'm going to fill in the right hand side, coming down 3 more times with 2 white bands. And I'm trying a different angle on my camera, so I'm going to try to do some of this right-handed so I don't block the view. But because I am left-handed, I might end up throwing bands all over the place, so we'll see how this goes. And then I'm going to take 2 more bands on the center 4th, coming down once to the center 5th, and then 2 more bands from the center 5th at a diagonal out to the right hand 5th. I then want to cap this off, creating 3 loops. And I'm going to take a single band, we're going to double it, and I'm creating a triangle from the 4th center peg to the 3rd right peg and the 4th right peg. Just like that. Once that's in place, we can go ahead and begin looping. So I'm going to go in, grabbing the first 2 bands under my capping band, and mine are going over to the left. Grabbing 2 more, my next 2 going straight up. And now I want to go ahead and loop up the outside. So I'm going in, grabbing those 2, and pulling these all the way up. Then going back in on this side, I'm going to just loop straight up to the top. Once I've done that, I'm just going to grab a holding hook, pull this off my loom, and set it aside for later. So go ahead and make a second one, and then we can continue on. The next thing that I'm going to show you how to make is the arm. I've already made one, so I'll go ahead and show you how to make one, and then you just need to pause the video to make a second one. And I'm going to make this one on the hook. So to make the arm, all you're going to do on your hook is take a single white band and create 3 loops. I am then taking 2 white bands and feeding that onto the 2 white bands and reclaiming the other side. And now we're just going to keep hooking 2 white bands for a total of 5. So this counts as 1. I have 2 more white bands. That's 2. 2 more. That's 3. And 2 more. That's 4. And then 2 more makes 5. I am then going to take a single black band, and you can either do this now or you can do this when your figure is done. That's really up to you. And I'm going to loop this 3 times around the bottom of his arm. So I'm just going to stretch this out. And then just push it down. Oops, my bands came off. Push it down towards the bottom. And let me just fix this. Lost my top 2. Okay. And that is how you create his arm. So go ahead and pause the video, make a second one, and then we can continue on. And the next piece that we're going to create before we start on the rest of his body is going to be the ear. So I'm going to show you how to make one of these, and you'll just need to pause the video to make the second one. And we're using the loom for this. So starting on the center peg, I'm taking a single white band and you're going to double it, coming down once. I'm then going to take another single white, double that as well, going from the center second peg out to the left second peg. And I want to do the same thing going the other way, so single, double, and coming out. Taking another single, double it, coming down the left side once. Same thing on the right, single, double, coming down once. Taking another single, double, and going from the left third peg to the center fourth peg at an angle. And I'm going to repeat that again on the right side. And then I want to fill in the last two center pegs with double white bands. So you're taking two white bands, coming down once in the center, and I'm going to do that again. Two more white bands. I then want to cap off this fourth center peg, creating 3 loops. And I'm going to place a single triangle crossover band from the third peg on the left, third in the center, third on the right, and we're going to do that as a single double. Once we've done that, we can begin looping. So I'm just going to go through my capping band, grabbing my first 2 and bringing those up, and I'm going to go ahead and loop up the second set as well. Stopping on the second peg. Going back in, grabbing my first bands, they go to the right, and my next set goes to the left. And then I'm just going to go ahead and loop up my right side. I'm going to go back in and loop up the left. And then going in, grabbing only the single double band and pulling that up. I'm going to go ahead and use a hook to loosen this up some. And I'm going to grab a holding hook and then set that aside for later. And it'll kind of curl in on itself when you pull it off, so just push through the back to straighten it out. So go ahead and pause the video, make a second ear, and then we'll continue on. Okay, the next part that we want to go ahead and create is his little snout, and to do that we'll be using white and a red band. So I'm going to be using double bands, and I'm coming down the left hand side once with 2 white bands, and I'm going to come down on the right as well with 2 white bands, coming down the center twice with 2 white bands. Then want to take 2 more white bands and bring it in from the second right peg to the center third at an angle. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I then want to take a single white band and I'm going to create a triangle here. And I'm going to take 2 red bands on my hook. And what I want to do on my hook is create 4 loops. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. I am then going to take a single white band and I'm going to double it. And I want to pull the red bands in place. Now we don't really want him to have too much of a ball style nose. He actually has more of a flat oval nose. So when you reclaim the other side, just spread these bands out slightly. And I'm going to place this on this peg as my capping band. And when you pinch together, it's probably going to cause it to ball up a little bit, but once he's completely done, you can always fix that. So I'm going to go in through the nose piece I just created, which is my capping band. I'm going to go ahead and grab my first 2 bands, and mine are going to the left. And I'm just going to go ahead and loop up this left-hand side. I want to go back in, grabbing the next 2 and bringing those to the right. and then loop up my center. Now when I remove this from the loom, I want to grab my bands from underneath because this part sticks out a little and this is the top. So we're going to want to unhook from underneath. Just grab a hook. Okay, so we're going to go in through the bottom to grab off our bands. Same thing on the center and on this one as well. And that's how you create his snout. And like I said, here you'll see this little button. It looks kind of like a button nose. So you would just spread these out a little, and you can fix him as well once he is off the loom completely. Now we're going to go ahead and create his body. And through the body, unless I specify otherwise, I will be using double bands. And we'll be primarily using white for the most part. So we are going to take, starting on the first center peg, we actually want to use 3 bands for just the first center peg, coming down once from the first to the second with 3 bands. Then switching back to 2 bands, I'm going to come out and to the left and repeat that as well, going to the right for the shoulders. I'm then going to come down the left side of my loom 5 times with 2 white bands. And I'm going to repeat that on the right side as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and also fill in the center, coming down, let's see, 6 times from the center with 2 white bands. I then want to take 2 white bands going from this outside peg that we ended on into the center at an angle to close off the bottom of the body. And I'm going to do the same thing going out to the left. I'm then going to come down the left side 4 more times with double white bands for the legs. And I'm going to repeat that on the right. Now we can go ahead and cap this off here, creating 3 loops. Apparently I need to shut my ringer off. And then down here at the bottom, where we ended with these 2 bands, this is where we're going to go ahead and attach the feet. So you want to grab his little feet that you created, and you're just going to place 1 on each foot. Now if you look at the feet, they actually have the longer side. So remember when we created it, we had one side that had 4 pegs and then one that had the longer. This is the part that you want to face in because it simulates almost like the big toe. So if you don't check which ones you're using, you'll end up with his feet facing the wrong way. So in this case, this one would be my left foot because it has a tendency to lean in that way. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this one to the left bottom. And then see, this one leans over going the other way, so this one will be on my right foot. We're also going to go back up here to the shoulders and grab the arms. You can go ahead and attach one to each shoulder peg. And I dropped a band. And we're going to go ahead and place our crossover bands. Well, actually, first we need to attach the two pieces for our belt. Just bear with me 1 second. Trying to remember how many bands I used on his belt. Okay, you're going to take a single red band and we're going down 4 pegs from the shoulder. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to take my single band. I'm going to lift the rubber band that goes from here to here, so that would be the 4th to the 5th peg down from the shoulder. I'm going to lift that off and drop the red band in place. And I want to do the same thing over here, just like that. So you have 1 on each side. Now we can place our crossover bands, and we'll just be using single bands. So starting down here, we placed our capping band here. So from these 2 pegs here, I'm going to create a single triangle. And I'm just going to go straight up the body with single triangles. And then one other piece we need to create is, if you look at the character, he has this little chest plate thing here. It's actually his logo, but that would be just way too detailed in rubber bands. So I simulated the best that I could. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to take a single red band on my hook, and I am going to create 4 loops. So 2, 3, and 4. I am then going to push that down. I'm going to take a single yellow and do the same thing, creating 4 loops. Now that I have that, I want to grab these first 2 bands and I'm going to pull them to the other side of the yellow. So that now your yellow's in the middle, your reds are on the outside. If you look, it'll crisscross on the back. And then taking a single white band, and I want to pull these onto the white. So I pull mine in order of color because you want to keep them in order. You don't want them to end up all twisted. If it helps, just pull 1 band over at a time. And I am then going to attach this from the right side 2nd peg to the 4th center peg at a long angle. So I want to attach this part here and then this one to the center. And I'm going to push this up because you actually want it more up towards the top part of the chest. And it looks like my red crisscrossed back over, so let me just pull that back. And again, when he comes off, it's going to squeeze it all together anyways, so you'll be able to fix it a little better at that point as well. Now that all of this is in place, we can go ahead and begin looping up the body. So I'm going to start down at the feet, and I'm going to pull back on my first foot, going through, grabbing my 2 bands, and I'm just going to go ahead and loop straight up. If I could stop dropping bands today, that would be excellent. I'm going to go ahead and loop straight up on the right side of the body. And I'm going to stop down here at the bottom of the body, right adjacent to the capping band. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, so I'm just going to go in and loop straight up. Now we're going to go in through the capping band, grabbing our first two bands. Mine go to the left. And I'm going to go back in, grabbing the next two, which go to the right. We now want to loop up the side of the body first. So I'm going to go in on the right side first, and I'm going to go ahead and loop up to here. Why do I think I did this wrong? I did. You want to, before you loop here, remove this crossover band, just set it aside, the one right that goes across the red bands, because we need to move those red bands, and then you can add that back in. Now, I'm going to go take your red band before you loop to here and pull that in place right here. So I want to pull it onto this band, and you can actually go ahead and pull that one onto that band as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and reattach my crossover band. So just go ahead and pull these in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and loop up. And I'm going to stop there. Going back down on the left, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, what I want to do is, for starters, I want to go ahead in the capping band, and I want to grab my first two center bands, and I'm going to bring those up. And then I want to do that again, stopping on this peg. So you're only looping up the center two. I then am going to take my red bands here, grab them on my hook, and pull them over to the center peg. And I want to do the same thing over here. You can use your fingers or your hook, but you just want to be able to pull them over and in place and push them down. I am then going to take a single yellow band, and I'm going to cap this off 4 times. Now that I've done that, I can go back through here, grabbing my bottom 2 white bands and bring those forward. And now I'm just going to go ahead and loop up the center of the body. And make sure when you're grabbing the neck bands, remember we had 3 bands there, so you don't drop any bands, make sure you grab them all. And I'm now going to grab, well, first I'm going to go ahead and loosen it up, and then I'll grab my holding hook. Have his body. Now, as far as his belt goes, you're going to see that the yellow here is sitting on top of the red. And I will show you, once he's completely together, what I did in order to pull it through and create more of a belt style here. So I will show you how to do that. But we'll do that once he's all together, because I don't want him to fall off the hook and then drop his neck bands. The final portion that we're going to create is his face. So we're going to start at the top of the loom with 2 white bands coming out at an angle. And I'm going to do the same thing going the other way. I'm then going to come down the left side 3 times with 2 white bands. And I want to do the same thing on the other side. I'm then going to come from the left 4th peg to the center 5th peg to create the chin. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in the center. Now we need to create an attachment on his face right here to give him his cheeks. And to do that, you're just going to take a single white on your hook, create 3 loops, taking 2 white bands. I'm going to pull those in place. I want to take 2 more and pull those in place. And I am then going to take this one and attach it on the 4th right peg. And I'm going to place, wait, did I attach it to the bottom or top? No, I attached it to the top. So attach it to the right 3rd peg, I'm sorry about that. And then go through the capping band, the initial 3 loops, and we're going to pull it down and pull that over the 4th peg. And I'm going to have to turn my loom around for this. Alright, and I want to do the same thing for the other side, so I'm taking another single, creating 3 loops, taking 2 white bands, pulling that in place, taking 2 more, and then hooking this to the left 3rd peg. I'm going to stick my hook through the capping band and pull this over that 4th peg. I can also go ahead and attach my ears, so I'm going to grab those, and those will go on the left and the right 1st pegs. Just place one on each side. I want to place my crossover band, so taking a single white on the bottom here, I'm going to create just a single triangle. I'm going to do that again here, and another one here. I also want to take a single white, and I'm going to pinch that together, taking my yellow pony bead and feed that in place. And this is going to be attached, let me see what I did here. Straight across the second 2 pegs, but you want to make sure that you're pushing the yellow peg to the left hand side. I then want to grab 2 black bands, and these will go I don't remember if I did a long angle on that. Should have written this down as I went. I think so. This will create a long angle from the top right peg to the center 3rd peg with 2 black bands coming across. And then we are going to go ahead and begin looping. The body is going to be what is considered your capping band. So just make sure he's facing up. We're going to place him here on the chin. Make sure you're getting all the bands from the neck on there so you don't drop any. if it makes it easier as well, once you place him on, you can always pull the body back some, just push it over that hook just to get it pulled back and out of the way. Now I'm also going to be attaching the snout. So what we want to do is we want to go in here first and take the first two bands and bring those forward. And I am then going to grab the next two, bringing those forward or over to the right, and my next two are going over to the left. I am then going in the center one more time, bringing that up. I'm going to go on the right, bringing that one up, and on the left, bringing this one up as well. And we want to stop here. Now I want to push down on all of my pegs. And we're going to go ahead, at this point we want to get this black pulled over, but we don't want to hook the white yet. So just go ahead and bring the black up and to the right. I don't know why. No, I did do that wrong. Man. Okay, unhook your black. Rehook it to this peg, and I want to drop this down one peg, so it should be on the second peg. I knew I was doing something wrong. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and loop this up over here. Now I want to go ahead and attach a snout. So I'm going to grab the snout, and at the top I have 3 sets of 4 bands. So I'm putting 4 on this right third peg, the center 4 will go on the center third, and the left 4 will go on the left fourth peg. So just make sure that you're getting all 4 bands in place. Just like that. Now I'm going to go in and continue looping. So I'm going to go ahead on the right hand side, going through, making sure you're going through all of the bands that are here, grabbing only those bottom 2 bands, and I'm going to loop that up. Now what you want to do here is, instead of looping this, if you, hopefully you can do this, most people can, just grab the band itself, and I am going to pull off all of the black bands off. I'm going to go ahead and hook this to the peg, and now I'm going to put all 4 black bands back on. Otherwise, the black will get kind of buried in the mix. Now I'm going to go back through, making sure to go through all of these bands, make sure that my eye band stays, I don't want to go on the outside of that single band, and loop up. And I'm going to go through the ear, grabbing my bottom 2 and coming over to the center. I now want to go up the left hand side as well. See, so making sure to go through all of these. And I find it helpful when you have a lot of bands, especially on the side. It really makes it easier to be able to go in and see what you're pushing through. I'm sure everybody has their own little techniques that work for them. And now I'm going to go through this center, making sure my left, this has a tendency to slide, so just make sure it's over to the left, otherwise you'll have to do some maneuvering to get it back there. And I'm going to go through all of these bands, which can be hard to see, making sure to grab only the bottom 2 and looping straight up. Now, as far as the tie-off goes, we are not using white for that because we're going to incorporate our tying bands into his eye patch. So you want to grab 2 black bands and create your slip knot at the top. Try to make sure they're not twisted when you create the slip knot. So I'm going to go ahead and remove him from the loom now. Ooh, gonna break my loom. Okay, so this is what we have. And you're just going to go ahead and squeeze his cheeks out a little, straighten out his nose, push if your yellow bands or your yellow bead went in, just push that down. You can straighten out his legs. Now, for the eye patch, what I did here is I separated the two bands. So you have two separate bands here. I am going to go through, taking my hook. So look at it from the side. I'm going underneath all four of the black bands, like that. I'm going to grab a single band and I'm going to pull it down and through. See how I did that? Now, I'm going to go through the back, and you don't want to go too far down in the cheek. The best place to go here would be right where the cheek ended. So I'm just going to go right through these two bands here, grabbing that black again and pulling it through. Now what I did with mine was I actually used a C-clip on my design. Let me see if I have a C-clip laying around. I do not. If you look here, when I brought it through, I just connected it to a C-clip. And then I connected the C-clip into here. Okay, so that gives that side, and again, it would be secured back here. Let's see if I can just secure it in here somehow. And then this one, you would just mimic the same. So that you're going to go through the other one and grab, you're just going to pull this one back. And now that I look at it, in all honesty, you could even tie it off if you're good at tying the bands. Some people have a really, like I have a really hard time with it. Trying to tie bands together when there's not much left to work with. Well, we'll be here all day if I try to do that. I say the best way to go is with a C-clip, because tying it, if you look, it's kind of stretching things out a little weird. The other option that you have, if you want more of a thicker area right here, is just to pull them both through. If you don't want to take, like if you don't really worry about what the back per se looks like, as far as having that thing cross across the back, then you'll just pull them both through here and both through the side, which I think is what I did with this other one. Okay, and then as far as the belt, like we were talking about, one, you want to make sure that this area is just kind of pulled higher up on the chest so it's separated. And then what I did with the belt initially is I go through, if you look at the yellow, I go through the top. I'm going to go through all four bands, and I'm going to grab both of these red bands. So essentially you're grabbing one from each side, and you pull it through the top like this. So now I've brought them up and through the top. And then what I did was I just went through the back. So you're going on each side. Okay, you want to be coming out one on this side and one on this side here. So I'll go through the back. I grabbed one red band. I'm going to hold on to the other one so I don't lose it. Grabbed one, pulled that through. If you have an extra hook, now's a good time to stick that through there, or you'll just lose that one. And then go through the other side, grabbing my other red band and pulling that through. And you can secure this one as well with another C-clip in his back. I know it's kind of odd. I don't use very many C-clips at all. I have mountains and mountains to the point where I throw them away. And I don't really use them very often in my design. With this one, it just, because my designs don't really get played with so much, I didn't even secure this one. I just left them, you know, there, but as you can see, it's starting to pop out, so maybe I should have. But I did secure the eye patch because you're pulling across a longer area. But that, oh, and then don't forget his eye. So just push forward on the yellow and draw the black part of his eye to create the eyeball. But that is how you create Danger Mouse. All completed. I hope you like him. Don't forget to subscribe for updates on my future videos. Have a good day, guys.